a distinguished ENT specialist, will tell us what we should do about ENT emergencies. Some examples: a nosebleed, loss of hearing, injuries around head and neck, facial fractures, sinus disorders, dizziness, difficulty in swallowing. Dr. Swaminathan did his MBBS from the Raja Muttaya Medical College and Hospital, Annamala University. He also obtained an MS in ENT and a diploma in hospital management from the same college, plus an MBA in marketing management from Annamala University. He is a consultant ENT surgeon to 3 hospitals in Chennai and Chidambaram and an associate professor for ENT with the Raja Muttaya Medical College and Hospital, Annamala University. He is the vice president of 4U Healthcare Solutions. This supports a chain of rural clinics that provide free services in select villages of both North and South India, including Tamil Nadu. He is also a partner of a pharmaceutical manufacturing and marketing company. He has bagged several honors in his academic career, such as the South India Gold Medal Award for Best Practicing ENT Surgeon in 2005. He has nearly 30 years of experience in medical education. He holds several positions in Annamala University. He has published numerous papers in national and international journals. Let's therefore listen carefully to Dr. Balaji Swaminathan and learn how to face ENT emergencies. Over to Dr. Balaji.
Good evening, one and all, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a thorough privilege and honor for me to stand in front of you, one of the very prestigious and a very ancient club of Rotary, what I've listened from all my friends here. And it has got all great people around here. I'm really privileged and honored again to say this to you. And special mention to my friend Dr. Balaji, who brought me to this function here. And great appreciation to Madhu sir for coordinating in a very fantastic and a fashionable way. And that's for this evening to begin with. I don't want to make it as a didactic lecture actually. Just talking about or giving you a presentation on what and what not about the emergencies in ENT. In general, I would like to make it as an interaction between both of us. That how an emergency can happen and how are we going to handle an emergency. More than an emergency, there can be a lot of other awareness discussions also, then and there we can take up along as the presentation goes on. Because we very strongly believe that knowing a disease gives you a 90% cure. You have to thoroughly understand what a disease is first of all, rather to go for a treatment and go for any modality of diagnostic methodology. Before that, you need to know what the disease is particularly, what is happening to you, and how are you going to face it, and how are you going to be out of it. So initially, as the topic promised, we will start with some emergencies for you guys. There are a couple of emergencies I brought up. Still, there would be a lot of emergencies, but pertaining to the most important emergencies of the ENT management, I've just brought up some couple of emergency management topics here. We all know that something called as a foreign body in the ear. We call something as a foreign body because which did not belong to you in your body system. Anything of it can be of anything. It's called as a foreign body. And most commonly what happens is, the insect which enters into the ear, which troubles a night's sleep, or which troubles anywhere else on a travel or wherever it is, it's very common. Sometimes when you are deep asleep, you will have a feel that something has got inside. You will have a feel. You will have a feel. I repeat it again. But there are chances where really an insect can get into your ear. Why do I say that you will have a feel is, there is something called as wax inside your ear. You all know that, That makes the insect or something not to enter into your ear. See, we always try to remove that and throw it off. But there are some benefits for that too. But not always I advise that you keep on accumulating. It is like our bank present policy. You can withdraw only 20,000 a week. So you can withdraw your wax, you can clean your wax, but don't make it as a daily habit. Once in a week or something, you can try to clean your wax. So this is the one which prevents the insect to enter into a ear. So if in case there is an insect which has entered into a ear, what would you like to do? First, in a casual interaction. Someone guesses.
Put water.
Put water. Fantastic. Anything else? Would you like to put anything else? Pardon? Cotton bud.
No.
Oil.
No oil.
Coconut oil.
No oil.
No oil.
Water adding salt.
Water adding some salt. I think I have to resign my doctor job and go because I have a fantastic answers here and almost all of you guys are nearly coming to become a ENT surgeon. Okay, end of this lecture I think that I have to rethink about my practice. Okay, it is all absolutely fine that you have to use the salt water is right and you can use an oil also is right and as well as some water, plain water or something. Anything is okay, fine with it. But what you have to do initially is if you suspect that an insect has entered into your right ear or something, try to lie down in a fashion that your ear which you suspect faces upwards. What are we going to do with that? Yeah. Because when the insect goes down, you should try to give a way for it to fly out for some few minutes or some few seconds or a minute. You can give a chance for that to fly out if it is possible. And sometimes some insects get trapped. They know only to go, like again with the present policy what we have done. We have removed all our 1,500, we do not know what to do. We are standing in the middle of the day. So what happens again is some insects go inside and get stuck up. At that moment, never get panic. Don't try to put any buds or don't try to clean out anything or don't try to injure anything. Do not try to do anything at all. Just pour salt water saline, that's called a saline, or a plain water, because today all plain waters have extra salt content into it, so never bother about it. And third component is you can use an oil also, that doesn't matter at all. Because when you do that, what happens is, it suffocates the principle and the ambition is to kill the insect. Okay? So that after it is dead, you need not bother about it. Even the next day morning, very leisurely, you can go to a ENT consultant. That emergency is already gone off. You can casually go and remove the insect. Understand? The principle behind killing the insect is because when insects gets trapped into a ear, it will try to find out a way to go everywhere. It will try to damage your external auditory canal. It will try to damage your thyroid membrane. It will move everywhere and try to irritate you and give you a lot of damages, more than whatever the insect can do. Whether it's a sting, what a damage a sting can give. More than that, it will give a bite hollow or it will try to give an edematous situation of your ear. So all is never let it alive for quite a long time. You try to make it up as early as possible, try to push something and kill it off. And then you can leisurely go off for a removal of the inside. That is what my friends have drafted here. Thanks to Prakash and Kirti for drafting all these things. Again, there is some picture to explain you how it is getting inside, facing which direction it will go and how you're supposed to come out. Okay. Next is ear pain. All of us in our home, with the kids we would have experienced this. We will not know what's happening in the middle of the night. Suddenly your child will start crying. If it's a newborn child, around 1 month or 2 months or something, it will immediately start crying. We will not know for what reason it is crying. And the mother will cry over the father, telling that you are not taking proper care of the child. See, the child is crying at the middle. And at times in some houses, even the father would cry against the child, telling tomorrow morning I have got a lot of works, you are not trying to pamper the child and make him quiet. The reason is behind that the child has got something to do with the ear. The most commonly, if you have a cry in the night, you can always zero down towards a ear problem for an infant, I'm talking about. Because there is something called as eustachian tube. We have an organ called ear, nose and throat. There are orthopedic surgeons, there are ophthalmologists, and there are different ear specialists there. But why is these three organs put together to one single specialist? Maybe he has got less chance to hear only with ear, nose or throat. So they have clubbed all these three things. Maybe it could be. But the whole sole reason to connect all these three organs is there is something in common called as eustachian tube, which connects the throat, nose and ear all together in the nasopharynx. That is, nose is in the middle, okay? And you have a throat and you have a ear. There is a tube which is coming from the ear towards the nose and it connects all the three organs together. That is called as eustachian tube. For an infant, the tube will be almost lying in a flat position. Rather, in an adult, as you go on, it will start descending. So something has to ascend and go to the tube when you grow as an adult. So in a pediatric child, what will happen? It is almost like a flat position. So what happens? Anything the child is trying to swallow on a lying posture, there are possibilities for any fluid to enter into the ear. Most commonly, some of the busy mother, after a tiring day, they come back and they feed the child on a lying posture. We have to advise to all our daughter-in-laws and all our wives and everybody not to feed a child on a lying posture. Because when you do that, what happens is the milk will enter into the ear and it will slowly get accumulated and it will fall an infection that's called as otitis media. What will happen is there will be an infection into the ear and the infection will have some pus secretion and it will not know where to come out because everywhere it is full of a thick bony wall. So it will have nowhere to come out of a bony wall. It will try to hit the tympanic membrane and it will try to rupture the tympanic membrane. That is a shooting pain the child will have. It is not like you cannot comfort the child telling that tomorrow morning we will go to the doctor. It's not like that. It will have a shooting pain. Two, it will irritate the tympanic membrane in such a fashion and we describe it as a shooting pain. It will make the tympanic membrane bulge very much because the pus has to come out. And sometimes there may be a rupture of the tympanic membrane and the discharge from the ear can also come. We would have seen across with some of our relatives somewhere, that there is a discharging ear in a pediatric child or something. So these are the conditions which can give you a ear pain more commonly on an unexplained languages with an infant, when you cannot understand what is happening with those people.
The newborn baby has to be in a lying position.
No, you have to take the child and you have to lift the child in your arm and then you have to breastfeed. It's not like lying posture. And second, most commonly, many a times my friend also used to give me a call. But whenever he is traveling, he used to give me a call and tell me that something is happening wrong with me. What is it? He will be calling me. And I also give him one treatment I will give him which is very bitter to him always. That is called as otic barotrauma. That is, you travel in a flight, you will experience. It's something when you're traveling in the flight. People will believe that they'll give you some cotton and all to keep in the ear. That is absolute myth. That cotton is not going to do anything. Because what happens is, the tympanic membrane, the pressure in the medullary cavity is getting balanced, it is getting shooted up with the difference between the atmospheric pressure. So what happens is, the tympanic membrane is getting pulled inside because of the negative pressure inside. It's getting pulled inside. When it is getting pulled inside, you have a pain. So all you have to do is chewing a bubble gum or trying to drink some sip of water or something. But sip of water, when I would like to say chewing a bubble gum is the best methodology, because as you keep on chewing, what happens is you secrete a lot of saliva. So without taking a glass of sip of water, you keep on swallow your own saliva. So for every time you swallow, what happens is it will open and close. So it will ventilate the medullary cavity so that the pain is not there. So there is no point of keeping an cotton or something inside your ear.
I used to have that pain more if I have a cold, no?
Yeah, again this is similar. What happens is in cold, what happens is that tympanic membrane is getting edematous. That means to say it's swollen out. So I mean the eustachian tube is swollen out. So what happens when it is getting swollen out? You will have less of air ventilation to the middle ear. Air will not properly enter into it. So that is a different treatment. What they give us is, the principle is you have to subside the infection. And second point is what you are supposed to do is, you are supposed to remove the edema. That is the swollen nature has to become normal. So that the airflow becomes very easy to the medullary cavity. The principle is behind this. Or otherwise simple, there is something called as Valsalva maneuver. As I already told, you are all almost at the end, you will be challenging ENT surgeons now today. So Valsalva maneuver is not at all a difficult maneuver. You can go through it YouTube and there are a lot of technologies and there are a lot of methods being very easily taught, far better than me what I am going to tell you now. So you have a lot of animations for that and all, and you can learn it. The principle, the name is called as Valsalva maneuver. That is, you need to close your nostrils and you need to blow like a balloon and see that the air enter into your middle ear. Like close it, like this you have to do it. You are not supposed to blow it out. You are supposed to blow it to your ear. Like this. Okay, if you do this, immediately that locked tympanic membrane will get released off. And your ear pain will get subsided. Otherwise, if you leave it as a chronic disorder, then you have to have a nasal drops into your nose and you have to, on a lying posture, you have to blow it. You will tell me that other than the nasal drops, you tell me anything, I will try to do it. So that is where the situation of an otic barotrauma is. And of course, for an ear pain, you can have almost around 200 causes of ear pain was there. What all can give you a ear pain, starting from a chronic respiratory otitis media, towards an infection, towards a foreign body, towards a trauma. More commonly a trauma, sometimes we are coming across a lot of people, on an anxious, on an argument, they just clap. It happened even in some schools also. Some teachers, who are trying to express their discipline to the to the student. I would not say whether it's right or wrong. That's a different debate. We will not get into that. So what happens is they have slapped the children, and those children, because of the pressure, you think that the pressure is very, very minimal, but it is effectively substantiable to damage your tympanic membrane and cause a ruptured tympanic membrane. That's called as traumatic perforation. Because you have to understand, whatever I'm talking and whatever you're listening now is all working in just 55 square millimeter of your tympanic membrane. That is called as effective vibrating surface area of the tympanic membrane. Only 55 square millimeter is making you listen whatever I talk on each ear. So when I try to slap up, the pressure is quite sufficient enough to damage that 55 square millimeter. You can imagine how small a 55 square millimeter would be. And if you have a damage to that, then definitely it will affect your hearing process. So these are all some of the small things where you have to be aware about it and what has to be done. If your kid is coming and complaining that we had an argument in the cricket game or something, I lost the game, we had an argument, I had a slap, that's all, and never leave it alone. Try to find out that something is wrong in the ear or not. And the child says that I am not well, I am not able to hear, I have a sense of ear blocking and all, 200% you can correct it off. All you have to do is keep the ear dry. Forget about medications, forget about everything. Not even a drop should enter into a ear. Even ear drops also should not enter into the ear. So that will keep you all absolutely safe. Give a time for it to dry up. So it dries up and the tympanic perforation is always absolutely treatable. Ear bleed is one more thing, one more component. When you have a road traffic accident or when you come across somewhere where you get hit up somewhere, you have a ear bleed. You see somebody coming with a ear bleed. What would you like to do first? You see a ear bleed. Anybody it can be. Working in your industry, working in your company, he's fallen down, he's got a ear bleed. What's the first thing we would try to do? Put ice.
Ice outside.
Okay, next. Any other options?
Making lying down and giving little pressure.
Where would you like to give pressure?
It is towards the
Okay.
not also.
Yeah. Any other answers? Call the doctor. Okay, fine. Call a friend from tomorrow onwards. Okay. So what happens is, you're not supposed to put anything into the ear and pack it off because you would not know. It is called as a hidden drain of blood. We would not know from where the blood is actually coming. Ear bleed isn't just an outlet of a big trauma. It can be even silent or it can be even dangerous. Sometimes when you're trying to pack inside or do something, what happens is you will further damage the skull base and enter into the brain. So never put any cloth or buds or anything into a ear which is bleeding following a trauma. I repeat it again, if anybody comes to you with a trauma, with the ear bleed, never ever try to take the buds and try to put it to the ear and try to clean up, because your bud, without knowing it, will go into the skull base. We will not know what is happening. Wait, I'll try to clean up and see. Never attempt doing that. All you have to do is, like that gentleman told you, you need to make the patient lie down on the side of the bleed and give a pack on the outside. That's all. You have to make the blood to come out. If you make the blood to stay away with some other pack or something, that particular pack, if it's not removed in 48 hours, it will get infected and it has got all possibility of giving meningitis to you also. So we have to be very careful with the ear bleed. Like this picture, what it says, that's what you have been talking. Okay. Next is the nosebleed. This is even more common, wherever you go, when you have somebody, like when you travel across, or children who are going for a play, particularly elderly persons.
Before you move to the nose,
Yeah.
just have one often gets some kind of a blowing in the ear. Is that an emergency?
Blowing, what is a sound, or you have a pulse,
Yeah.
tuck, like that? No, that is not an emergency or something to be worried about, but at the same time, it needs an evaluation. Okay? For the simple reason that pulsation can be of a very simple reason to a major reason. Because if that sound is coming very frequently, uninterrupted, and you hear it all through the time, there may be a possibility that some vessel is pulsating. Some blood vessel is pulsating onto your ear. That is called as pulsatile sound. Sometimes what happens, that is called as, you yourself will be able to feel it out. That sound is being heard because of, again, various causes, starting from a wax towards an perforation, towards an infection, towards a eustachian block, or towards a pressure defect. It can have all common basic things to produce you that sound. However, tinnitus can be produced even through all these causes. Sometimes it can be caused by a major cause also. It requires an evaluation if it is present for a longer duration without getting this disturbed here. Okay, coming to the nosebleed, which I again said, like, it's more common, you will come across for students, and particularly elder men also have nosebleed. That is around like 60, 70, and all these people. At times you can have a nasal bleed because of your various reasons. One is because of your hypertension, because of your nasal spur for the elderly people, and for the school-going boys and young boys, it's because of trauma, nose-picking habit, or some cricket ball coming and hitting on it. So once you have a nasal bleed, you see a kid or somebody with a nasal bleed, what is the one you would try to do first?
You try to pinch the nostril around.
Pinch the nostril.
And lean forward and breathe through the mouth.
Lean forward and breathe through the mouth. Anything else?
Ice it.
That's what I told you, I think, I mean, we will start again to practice very soon and quicker. Yeah, true. See, what we have to do, I will give you all the nuances of those things, how to take it up further forward. Because you should know why are you supposed to pinch the nose. And why are you supposed to breathe through the mouth? Of course, when you pinch the nose, you have to breathe through the nose. That's a different story. Why are we supposed to pinch the nose?
To constrict the bleeding point.
Yeah. That means that there are different methodology of arresting a bleeding in one particular point. One is the conventional age-old method of giving a pressure. Okay? And how long are you going to pinch the nose? That's my question.
10 to 15 minutes.
Because mostly what happens is they will be holding him. After a minute, out of anxious, they'll open and see whether it's stopped. Maybe it is again coming, then again they'll keep on pinch the nose. Like that, they'll be doing it for 10 to 15 minutes. And at the end of the day, they'll come and say to the doctor, sir, I have been pinching my nose for 10 to 15 minutes, but still it did not stop. But the point is, you have to continuously hold till the normal clotting time of the patient, which varies from around 7 to 8 minutes. That's quite sufficient. You don't wait for 15 minutes or something. All you have to do is pinch the nose, bend forward. You have to bend forward and do that, because most of the time, sometimes the bleeding will be from the posterior, that's from behind, which we might not be aware about it. At the time, what happens is the blood will enter into the oropharynx, and there are chances of the blood dripping into your larynx and creating you a problem. So all you have to do is, when you bend forward and when you pinch up, what happens is, if at all any collection is coming, the patient will spit out to the mouth. And of course,
pinch the upper part.
no, the anterior part, because the upper part is thoroughly made of bone. It requires the Hanuman to come and pinch to stop it. So all we can do is only the anterior part where we can pinch up and we will be able to stop the pressure. And the third important point, what we can try to do is we can apply ice. What an ice does is, it is a vasoconstrictor. Okay? It will try to constrict the vessels and try to contribute for stopping your bleeding. It will not stop your bleeding because it can contribute to stop your bleeding. That much of pressure is required for you to put it on your anterior part of the nose. And most commonly, on a pediatric child or on a children's school-going child, the bleeding will be from the anterior. If it is an adult, and if it is an older person due to an hypertension or something, the bleeding will be always from the posterior. For that, all you have to do is you have to go for a locking procedure and try to, your doctor would have advised you, if he has seen 1 or 2 times, he will give you such small packs how to keep in the nose and stop the bleeding. That is how you have to do, because pinching the nose most commonly will not work out for a very senior acute bleeding. Okay? This is for a pediatric child where a nose pricking habit falls up, or otherwise for a trauma where the bleeding is coming. 90% works here, and 30 to 40% works for a very senior athlete. And this is how you are supposed to do. You have to put your child on the lap, make the child bend forward and try to close the nostril and make the child bend forward. This I have to definitely talk to them, because I'm talking about this everywhere, and maybe it is becoming a very, what do you say, like, this incident troubled me actually. Because you all should be knowing about, we learned across that there is a LKG student in some of the school in Chennai here, which died when it was having a banana. Imagine, that is a very, very, very common food of our country, and it is a common food what we give for a child. A child, when it was having a banana, it got choked and the child expired in the school itself. Because it will not require more than 7 or 8 minutes. Maximum of 10 minutes the child can push up if something is wrong. you have to work something very quickly in the 7th to 8th minute onwards. So choking is a very, very dangerous component until the child grows bigger, because I have to explain you. In an adult, what happens is, when you're swallowing a food, the God has devised both the food passage and the air passage together. Okay? The air passage will be in the front and the food passage will be in the back. So when the food enters, what happens is the food passage goes up, the air passage goes up, and it will facilitate in a fashion that the food enters into the esophagus. That's what in the cricopharynx, the esophagus, where we call the food pipe in general. It enters into the food pipe. For our children, this movement is very complicated. It is not as habituated for an adult. Okay? Till for age of around 7 to 9 years or something, you have to be very careful with giving your food. That's why we have to advise all the children not to take food when they are lying down, not to take food when they are talking, or not to take food when they are laughing and playing a game or something, keeping something on the mouth, not to run away. So these are the foreign bodies which get stuck into your larynx and they disturb your life thoroughly in fraction of seconds. So choking is a very, very important information what we all should learn about it, and I would wish that Rotary Club takes it as a project, teaches this to all the school teachers, educate them thoroughly about the management of a choking. If a child is getting choked, at least one teacher or two chief teacher, at least kindergarten teachers have to be taught how to manage the first aid of a child when the child is getting choked. This much of work is never been possible by any of the other associations where all I have tried upon. Rotary can still do it, because I learned one story, and I am also a proud Rotarian to tell you all. This is regarding the polio vaccine. What happened was how much the Rotary's contribution was there towards the eradication of polio. In Sri Lanka, there was an area where it is declared as a war zone area. And when Rotarians had to go and supply a vaccine there, it was thoroughly not possible. And there have been lot and lot of Rotarians who even went to the war field in giving a polio drops for all this people. So such a great work Rotary has always performed. So we need to take initiative of teaching the school teachers to do the first aid for choking, has to be taught for them. One casualty is quite sufficiently enough to disturb our entire life, that we have not done something or contributed something for us. So first of all, let me do my job of telling you what to do if there is a choking. If I pass it on to all these 30 people here, I believe that it will go to 300 and 3,000 and 3 lakh people as on as it goes up. So you have a friend, we'll come out of all the serious thought. We have a friend and we are trying to chat with a friend, and we have a good chicken biryani where we are trying to have to each other. Maybe both of us always are fond of that. So when we are trying to hand off, we would be on a quick faces before our other friend flicks some of the pieces from us. So on and hurry up, when you try to put out, something is getting choked into your larynx, what would you do?
Slap the back.
Slap the back. Why you did not give me a chicken piece? Next. Next
What
one
happens, hang me.
Huh? No, it is not possible. The patient will be dying actually. Once it's gone into the throat, he can't breathe, he can't speak anymore.
Yes.
Try to cough.
Try to cough. How will you make throat?
We can't do anything.
Huh?
Put him upside down.
Imagine a friend like me and a friend like you sitting together. How can you put me upside down? It is very difficult for both of us, particularly to do upside down. Yeah, true. But it is going to be practically difficult for both of us to turn upside down. And you and me alone into the room, even more difficult.
Great.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, what
Heimlich.
Huh?
Heimlich.
Heimlich. I will describe that about Heimlich. What it is, I will come out. But maybe he's coming. It is the real maneuver. But you don't know what to do on that. One is tapping the back, turning around.
Villages they hit the head.
Villages they hit the head. So we can try to. Again, it's like the same thing, Why you did not give me a problem? Burger. No, we will give a head on yourself. Next.
Remove the tongue.
Remove the.
Remove the tongue.